AG Sports. Thank you very much for your support, for tuning in, for subscribing, liking, commenting, all that stuff. I really appreciate it, and it really gives me kind of an incentive to keep going forward, to keep putting this content out there, keep giving you new info. So I just wanted to take that time to say thank you. Today's show is going to be very data driven. I apologize, there's not really a lot of visuals for this one. There's usually not. But that being said, if you want to put this on like while you're in the car, or cutting the grass, whatever, I'm going to go down some really good info, some stuff that's going to help you make some bets later on. And I'm also going to give you a couple of like tips, tricks, and other things that are going to help you with your long-term betting and how you can just become a better bettor. I'll be real upfront with you guys. I'm not like some millionaire. I have not made millions of dollars betting. I myself have been a sports bettor for a little over 5 years now. Within those 5 years, I've learned a lot of info. I started off losing a lot of money. I've read a lot of books, data, listened to a lot of podcasts, all that stuff. So really what I'm trying to do is give you the benefit of my information without you having to go through the years of learning and losing money and all that kind of stuff. All of this is obviously for free. I'm not trying to pitch you anything here. I just want to maybe start a conversation with some of you guys. Let me know what you think about this info. If there's anything that you possibly do to help yourself become a better bettor, or something that you're doing that you think maybe helps you throughout the regular season. All that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to start off with some preseason watching notes. So I have 4 things that I'm going to be watching for in the preseason, and I think you should be watching for in the preseason. One is Mac Jones with the Patriots. What are they doing with him? Are they putting him out there with the first team? Are they going to give Cam Newton, that first couple drives, whether it's just the first drive or the first quarter or whatever it is that they're doing for preseason? I'm assuming they are going to probably show a lot of Mac Jones. I just don't know how early he's going to come into the game. And how does he look? Does he look like something, like somebody that Bill Belichick is going to trust? Is he showing us some things that are maybe a little bit beyond the scope of what Cam Newton can do, as of right now? Is he, at least a little mobile? Is he hitting some receivers downfield? Is he stretching the offense out? Or is he at least hitting some tight ends? And that's going to be very key. Is he using his tight ends in the preseason? And the reason I say that is because, as I've discussed in previous videos, Bill Belichick loves him some tight ends, and he loves watching these guys work. And if Mac Jones can find these guys open, not only is he going to look good to us and to Bill, but he's also going to make a big impact on the game because this offense is schemed specifically around the tight ends, and those guys are going to do great after the catch. Guys like Jonnu Smith are amazing once they have the ball in their hands. Next is Kyle Pitts with the Falcons. Probably don't need to speak too much about this, but how exactly are they using him? We've heard all sorts of stuff on the offseason that he's being moved as a tight end, as an inline tight end, as a receiver, as a slot guy, as a blocker, all sorts of stuff. So I want to see for myself, how are they really using him? And really, I guess more importantly, how does he match up with the defense? Now, if they use him with the first team offense, even if it's only for like 1 or 2 drives, that's really what I want to watch. I don't give a shit if he does great against guys who are going to be insurance salesmen next month. I want to see how he does against guys who are going to be playing against him once the regular season comes in. And so that's really what I want to watch. So if you see the Falcons game, you can maybe circle that on your calendar. You don't need to watch the whole game. Just watch like the first quarter and see how he's doing. See if he's maybe getting some separation. Can he hold his blocks? Is he doing okay in run blocking? Is he making those cuts? Is he seeing the field the right way to get open, to get a little bit of separation? Especially as a tight end, he should be able to just outspeed the linebackers and outmuscle the secondary. So let's take a look at him. Next, and this is a little bit more kind of off the beaten path, is Tyler Conklin. He's a tight end for the Ravens, and you maybe never heard that name unless you are a Ravens fan. But the reason we want to be watching him in the preseason is because the Ravens traditionally run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. Last year, they lost Hayden Hurst, and they really struggled to run those bigger sets. Yes, they still have Mark Andrews, but 12 and 13 personnel, if you're not familiar with those terms, the first number means that's how many running backs you have on the field. So when I say 12, it means 1 running back. The second number is how many tight ends. So you have 1 running back, 2 tight ends. 13 is one running back, 3 tight ends. They love running those sets. Lamar Jackson actually typically performs best with the 13 personnel. And the reason for that, a lot of times, is that obviously the defense is going to say, okay, well, you have 3 tight ends on the field, you have a running back on the field, we're expecting run, you're in a heavy set. So they play the run, they crowd the line, they're playing their run defense, and that gives you a lot of openings on the back end to hit some receivers or to hit guys like Mark Andrews once they have passed by the first row of linebackers. So it's very important that Tyler Conklin can come in and help his team not hurt them when they install this 13 personnel or the 12 personnel for that matter. Also, guys like J.K. Dobbins, they love to kind of use their linemen appropriately and bounce off of them or read their blocks. So if they are coming in and these tight ends are holding their blocks and they're also presenting some sort of downfield threat, guys like J.K. Dobbins and Lamar Jackson should be able to run just, as much as they want, basically. Lastly is the Rams offense in general. And this is really more specific for game 1 of the preseason. McVay has a tendency to just not give a shit about preseason at all. And I don't blame him. If you look at it, a lot of the smart coaches in the NFL just don't give a damn whatsoever about preseason. They realize that they are really trying to not show anything at all while still playing a full-length game. So you're trying to keep everything secret and not show any sort of playbook at all. You're trying to stay very vanilla, run like a high school offense, but you still have to put your players in there. You still have to perform for a full 4 quarters. So it's a really tightrope to walk. And if you go back and watch the preseason that Sean McVay has been in, it's just like he's like just giving up play calling. He doesn't try to win at all. The only reason I say we need to watch him this year is because he has Matt Stafford back there now. And so he may want to see Matt Stafford against another defense. He may care more this offseason than he does in previous off seasons where he knew Jared Goff was hot garbage. So he might want to put, the offense out there and see how Stafford is reacting to certain things, what he can and can't do against a full-speed NFL defense. It's much different than practice. Those kind of things that maybe are just little intricacies that he wants to kind of tune or harp on, he might leave his offense out there and actually try for a quarter or two. Maybe the full game, who knows? But what we really want to watch is game 1 to see what he's doing, because game 2 of the preseason is the Raiders versus the Rams. And here's a great betting opportunity, and the reason I say that is the Raiders and John Gruden, not being one of the smarter coaches, tends to really, really care about his team, quote-unquote, winning a game in preseason. Despite the fact it doesn't mean anything at the end of the year, you're not getting into playoffs because of preseason wins, he really goes above and beyond to get these W's. And certain coaches, like a John Harbaugh, make that work. And they use it to kind of instill this mentality in their team of like, we're going to win. I'm going to do everything I need to win. We're going to get there to win. The problem is John Harbaugh doesn't need to pull out all of his tricks to get the win. And for the most part, he doesn't need to leave Lamar Jackson in there to get the win. He doesn't need to play his A team. He doesn't really need to show a whole lot. And even if he did, really the whole NFL knows that the Ravens want to run. The Raiders are not so one-dimensional. They just kind of tend to show everything in preseason, and it really leaves a lot of tape for them to kind of shoot themselves in the foot. That all being said, though, week 2 of the preseason, when the Raiders go to play the Rams, you have one team who's really going to care and try and be pulling out every stop that they can to win. They might leave in, their starters as long as possible to make sure that they get this win, where the Rams are going to probably, in my opinion, show up, get off the bus, take a nap, and wake up when it's time to go back home. So I don't really see them trying very hard. And that's, again, why I want to watch week 1 to see if maybe I'm wrong about that. But assuming that Sean McVay keeps doing what he's doing, I really think the Raiders will win that week 2 preseason game. And if you're looking at the lines, I don't think there's been one put out yet, at least not the books that I use. But you're probably going to get something like the Raiders +3, Raiders +3.5. And that's just because there wasn't a preseason last year, and nobody really remembers a lot about preseason. And so you're going to have the general public who is dying to bet NFL come and flood their money on the Rams because they see Rams versus Raiders. And so even if it starts off at like a Rams -2.5, I could see that thing getting bumped up to Rams -3, possibly -3.5, depending on how much action comes in on it. Next, though, let's get out of preseason and more into the regular season discussion here, is going to be the London games. So there's obviously London games every year except for last year due to COVID. The London games, though, if you have not been keeping up with like they're against the spread numbers, they're 20 out of 29 as far as the favorites are concerned. So favorites have won 20 out of 29 times and covered 69% of the time. That's huge. I mean, that's like almost unheard of. Teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Saints, when they were still under Drew Brees, were not covering 69% of the time. That's ridiculous. But it's a really good nugget for you to know because those games are going to come up this year. The over/under not so decisive. It's 14 and 15 with 14 to the over, 15 to the under. And a lot of that's really just team-driven. A lot of those unders that came up the last time they were playing there is because the teams were just god-awful. It's like the Jaguars with nobody, and they were playing against some other nobody team. I don't remember. But that's a very team-driven stat. But one of the games this year is the Jets versus the Falcons, and that's going to be in Week 5. The reason I bring that up, though, is I can almost tell you right now, with full certainty, the Falcons are going to be the favorites in that game. The Jets, while I actually like the Jets more than I have in a while, and I really want to watch them and get to know a lot of their newer, younger players, at the end of the day, they have a rookie quarterback, a rookie wide receiver, a rookie wide receiver, a rookie running back, and most importantly, a first-year head coach in Robert Saleh. Now, I love Robert Saleh. I actually like Michael Carter, the running back. I'm not sure about how the Wilson is the quarterback. I'm not really sure how the quarterback and receiver are going to work out. But that being said, I'm really just thinking they're not going to be able to put up too many points with everybody's trying to acclimate to the NFL speed in their first year for the first time ever. And without scoring a lot of points, it's going to be pretty hard to stay in a lot of these games. I do think they'll score more than they did last year. They averaged 13 points a game last year under Adam Gase, so they can't do any worse. But I really feel that their points per game is probably going to be around 19 this year. With some games, them going a little over, some games a little under. You know what an average is. That all being said, though, against the Falcons also have a first-year head coach. And so these first-year head coaches are going to London in their first year. It's a totally different preparation game from a regular season, hey, we're going, across the country, across the state, whatever. It's totally different. So it's going to be a little bit of a difference for the coaches themselves. But Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator for the Titans. And if you saw the Titans last year, really the last 2 years that he was calling plays for them, their efficiency was just through the roof, man. Their explosiveness was through the roof. I mean, and I'm not just saying watching them. I mean, statistically, they were the top 10 rated offense in literally every single category you can think of, and that was not because Tannehill joined the team. I'm sure that helped, but Arthur Smith knows how to get his guys in the right position, how to play them. He knows what to call, when to call it, and while he's not going to be the OC for the Falcons, being the head coach, he's going to have his hands in everything, and I can see that Falcons team being a lot better than people are expecting, even with the limited maybe talent they have on the field this year, losing Julio and all. That all being said, though, I really think the Falcons will win that game. They will cover the spread, whatever the line comes out to be that week. Assuming the Jets stay healthy and are at least somewhat, half-ass competitive in these first few games, the line could be something like, Falcons -4, Falcons -4.5. It really just depends on how we get there, how the Jets are looking, how the Falcons are looking up until that time, and any injuries, of course. After that, though, we have a couple stats I just want to throw at you, and these are more kind of one-off stats, but things that you should be aware of. So teams that are up at halftime win the game 80% of the time. So if you are a live bettor and somebody who likes to bet the game in-game, keep that in mind. If the team is up at halftime, even if it's only up by 1 point, that team is going to win 80% of the time. So a lot of times you'll have I don't want to say a lot of times, but you'll have like an underdog sometimes winning at halftime, and they'll be up by like a point. And you'll have this massive amount of money coming in on the favorite, saying they're going to come back, they're going to have a better second half, they're going to win. And that very well may happen. But statistically, if you bet that underdog 8 out of 10 times, you should be winning. And because they are the underdog, you're going to win even more money. If you weren't aware of this, you only need to win 52% of the time to break even in the NFL, assuming it's a -110 bet. But if you're betting underdogs, meaning that you're getting like plus money, you don't even need to win that frequently. So if you could win 80% of the time, yeah, you're gonna definitely be banking some money. So keep an eye out for that. Watch these underdogs that perform well. The other thing is there's some teams that are just gonna have really good quarters. Like one of those teams, and this is not on my script here, but just to kind of give you an insight, the Jaguars offensive coordinator, Darren Bevel, he's actually really, really amazing at scripting the first quarter, like that first series of plays, maybe even the first couple series of plays. And then as the game goes on, he doesn't know how to adjust. So guys or teams like the Jaguars are probably going to have a first quarter that is really, really good, but still may not be winning at halftime. So just be aware of that stat and kind of see where you can use it, pick and choose. Don't heavily bet in game, and I'm telling you that as someone with experience doing it. A lot of times you'll see something that, hey, that number looks really good. I couldn't get that number beforehand, and you're just taking it strictly off the number. Don't do that. You really only want to live bet games that you are actively watching. I don't mean they're on while your wife has you folding clothes or some shit. Like you need to really be actively watching this game and have a very good reason for betting in game. Like one of the best examples I can give you is last year. I was watching, I forget which Ravens game it was, but I was watching the Ravens, and their defensive tackle went out. And I knew right then and there, okay, they're not going to be able to stop the run. And without stopping the run, the Ravens have a hard time kind of staying in games because they depend on having a lot of time to move the ball, to kind of do that ground and pound kind of game and the slow style and all that kind of stuff. So if the other team can slow it down and they're keeping the ball and they're keeping possession, the Ravens just don't have enough time to score. So that being said, as soon as that guy went down, I was like, yep, betting it the other way. And of course, the other team won. I covered. It was great. Something like that. That's really when you want to bet in game. Don't just bet because of like a number for a game you're not even watching. Next is a calendar of wins. And so what is this and what the hell am I talking about? So what you're going to want to do is, if you don't already, have a spreadsheet. And something doesn't have to be real super formal or anything like that, but just have a small spreadsheet like this where you have a list of teams. And you don't even have to do all the teams. Pick like 4 teams, and it's way easier with just like 4 or 5 teams. Pick 4 or 5 teams that you personally are interested in watching. Forget about betting, forget about fantasy. Just 4 teams that you really want to watch throughout the year, whether that's your favorite team, a rival team, whatever. But 4 teams that you can commit to. I'm gonna watch their games every week, whether it's live or it's on afterward, like a re-recording or whatever it is. But you're gonna watch these games every week. And the reason you're gonna do that is because every week that goes by, you're going to write a little blurb on how they won. And so some examples of this may be like, let's say the Cardinals win week 1 on the last second field goal. Like, okay, Kyler Murray drove the team down last 2 minutes, 2-minute drill. They kicked the field goal for the last second win. All right, cool. And then the game 2 is, other team was driving down the field for the last second win, and they fumbled, and the Cardinals recovered. And then, game 3, you get the point, right? Like, it's just kind of, okay, what happened here? How did these games end up the way they were? Some other stuff you want to put in those little blurbs is like, Kyler Murray played through, dislocated elbow or some, whatever crap they're playing through, broken rib or some shit. stuff like that. You want to throw that in there. And you can even put stuff about like the other team, like, hey, the so-and-so missed 3 field goals this week, and the Cardinals pulled out like a 1-point win, something like that. And the reason that you want to do this and the reason you want to keep track of these things is because what's going to happen is the lines for teams are going to adjust throughout the year based upon public perception. And it's a lot like a stock market, guys. It is a market. So what's going to happen is if the Cardinals have gone 4-0, right? The 5th week is going to come out with kind of an inflated line. It may have been like Cardinals -6 preseason, and then by the time week 5 gets here, it's like Cardinals, -7.5. And you have even more money coming in because people were saying like, oh my God, the Cardinals are they're on a roll, they're 4-0, they're looking good, whatever. And maybe they're just looking at stats, maybe they're just looking at the scoreboard, maybe they're just like a very casual fan. If you have this calendar, you can come back and say, okay, well, they barely won that first game with like a last-second thing. They barely won the second game because they recovered a fumble. They squeaked out a win because another team missed a bunch of field goals. This seems like a prime regression spot. As soon as everybody jumps on them, they pulled out all these real little like kind of fluky wins, and now they're going to play against a strong offense or whoever they're playing against. I'm going to take the other side. And this is just kind of stuff I'm rattling off the top of my head, but it has worked several times. Last year was really the first year I kept it for myself, and I actually got the idea from, of course, Mr. Warren Sharp. And the reason I kind of came up with that is that every week on like different podcasts, you hear him and other guys talking about like, hey, remember this team really sucked against 13 personnel last week, or they really didn't do good when they had when they had nickel defense on there. Just little stuff like that, like little tidbits that you maybe didn't catch because you didn't watch that particular game. But stuff like that where he's giving you these little like nuggets of info, and it's great, but 4 or 5 weeks down the line, you're not going to remember it. And it might be something that is really important and something that can really come into play when like you're picking a team, but you need to have it written down somewhere, and you need to have something for the whole season, because a lot of times these trends aren't going to come in the first 4 weeks. It's going to be stuff you can play on like week 8, week 9, week 12, and without this calendar, I can almost guarantee you're not going to remember it. So, sorry for the long video, guys. Here we still have just a little bit more to get through. If you want to pause it, come back, you can. But if you don't like these long videos, let me know below. I'm totally fine with breaking these things into like 3 or 4 videos and kind of doing them that way. It's actually better for me if I do it that way. But I know a lot of you get like 1 shot a week to do something like I said, like cut the grass, and you're just kind of letting this thing roll. So let me know if you want it in shorter tidbits below. But let's keep going. So fewer bets are better. One of the earliest mistakes I made, and one of the mistakes I see new bettors make all the time, even though I tell them don't do it, is I think I know a lot about the NFL. I know a lot of different teams. I've played fantasy for a long time. I think this team's going to win. I have this feel. I think that team's going to win. I like this coach. I like that guy. I like that guy. I like this prop. And you end up putting out like 20 bets a week, right? And especially if you're new and you're starting off with like $10 a bet, you're not really thinking it's very bad because you're like, oh, well, it's only $10 a bet, and I really like all these plays, and, if I just get like 10 of them, then I can win my money back, and, it's fine, and hopefully I win more, and like you just kind of rationalize with yourself. That's not the right way to play. You want to have fewer bets, really the least amount possible. And that's not just me saying like you don't know how to handicap. That's mathematically, you will make more money if you bet less. And one step is handicapping. So the odds of you knowing more about 20 different takes than Vegas does is like slim to none. The odds of you even having like 15 games or lines where you're like, man, that's a really bad line, and you think that you are outsmarting Vegas. They're rich, you're not. That's just the way it is, including myself. You're not going to be right that many times. And the more you bet, the more you have to be right just to break even. And so if you get really, really good at this, or you're in some syndicate where you guys are betting like hundreds of thousands of dollars a weekend, by all means, don't listen to me, right? Like, I'll shut the hell up. But the odds are you're not. That's probably why you're watching this video. I'm not, and that's why I'm still studying all this stuff. But that all being said, let's keep it to like 5, right? 5 to 7. That's really like my golden spot. And so, like I said, mathematically, let me run down how this works. So you have to win 52% of the time just to break even. So 52%, if you make 11 bets, means you have to win 6 of those bets to break even. The 11 bets at 110 a bet, or minus 110 if you're betting $100, is going to cost you $1,210. If you get those 6 wins, right, and that's a lot. That's saying that you won six times in one weekend. You're going to net or earn $1,260, right? So you gained a total of $50. Sorry, I wrote this down wrong. But you made a total of $50, which is, half a unit. So you wagered, or you had out there risking $1,210 to come back with $50. Not a good bet. You would not ever make that bet if it was like one big bet and it was basically like a minus 1,000 bet. You shouldn't make it. If you didn't already know that, you should not be making those kind of bets, because it might be like a gimme all day. You might think like, this is definitely gonna hit. All it takes is one. You get that one loss, man, and you get real gun shy real quick. So don't do that. 11 bets to come home with $50 is not a great story. It's nothing nobody wants to hear about. That's just the way the vig is going to get you. So if we bring that down to 7, right? So it means you're only betting 7 games. So 52% out of 7 means you need to get 4 wins. A little bit easier to get 6 wins. 4 wins is more doable. But 4 wins, so at 7 bets, it's going to cost you, if you're betting $100 and each bet is at minus 110 bet, it's going to cost you $770. Those 4 wins are going to earn you $840, which is a gain of $70 or 0.7 units. So 0.7 units, again, still not great, but it is closer to 1 unit if that's what you're looking for, and really obviously you want to be making more. But $70 for a $770 bet, like a 10% gain, not terrible. Still not optimal, but it's not terrible. Let's drop that down one more time, and like I said, really like 5, as close to 5 bets as you can get is where you want to be. So 52% of 5 means you only need to get 3 wins. 3 wins in 1 week is very doable, and I'm sure most of you have probably done that before. 5 bets at minus 110 is going to cost you $550. The 3 wins are going to earn you $630, which is a gain of $80 or 8 units. Percentage-wise, you are looking at roughly about a 14.5% gain that week. So you're gaining more and you're risking less. That's where we want to be. Now, there's some weeks, like I said, towards the beginning of the year where we have the biggest edge we're going to have over the house. That's where you want to maybe go a little bit higher. You want to kind of skew into like that 7 bet a week zone. And then as we get into the season and the books start getting better and the syndicates start getting better and there's more and more money moving the line and smoking the lines one way or the other, we want to kind of start to taper off to 5. And then if you keep up with this channel, you'll see after like week 7 or 8, I'm going to probably taper it down to 3 and also going to reduce like my unit size. That's the other thing, unit size and all that kind of stuff. If you're not familiar with this, I will put out another video showing you more of like the kind of lingo with betting and where to go and what to do and all that kind of stuff, but that'll be coming later. Lastly, guys, and this might be what you're here for, I do have some picks to give out for you. This will be early in the season picks. So week 1, Dolphins at the Patriots. First of all, let's take a look at the Dolphins injuries. So the depth chart for the Dolphins receivers, it goes Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle. Those are their 3 starting wide receivers. Well, let's take a look at what's going on with them right now. Devontae Parker is recovering from a soft tissue issue, and he is actually trying to rest it as much as possible because the medical team has said that without enough rest, it can become chronic. So it is an issue that they are definitely monitoring, and I think even if we see him at week 1, we might not see him at 100%. We might not see him play 100% of the snaps. or as much as he's used to playing. Still week 1, Will Fuller suspended already game 1. That's still the remainder of his suspension, so he's out. Jalen Waddle. It came out a couple days ago that Waddle's, and I'll just read it right here, Waddle's surgically repaired right ankle is still somewhat of an issue 9 months after the initial injury. So he missed the Alabama championship game in college last year because of this injury. Is still remaining an issue, and he's not 100%. So I think we probably will see him on the field. I know probably struggle through it, but he's not going to be 100%, and he's a rookie. It's going to be his first game ever in the NFL playing at less than 100%. Don't like it. Who's their backup, though? Backup behind Devontae Parker, if he's still out, is Preston Williams. Preston Williams is already on the PUP list for a foot injury. Now, the PUP list with preseason is a lot different. You don't need 6 weeks. It can come off whenever. But the fact that he is on this and they felt the need to put him on the PUP, maybe it's just like a contract issue. But to me, it says there's something there that's probably lingering or some sort of injury that we need to know about. So receiving game is already going to be demolished. Not really the way you want to start off the season for Tua if all these guys are out. I mean, you're looking at essentially your starting receivers for week 1 are going to be guys that ideally would be all coming off the bench. They're also going to be playing against the Patriots at New England, which is really tough. And I know New England doesn't have like a great record when we talk about early season games, but that was under Tom Brady, and that was under a different kind of like set of players. Now they're finally playing with 2 elite tight ends again, and they are returning the 8 players that opted out due to COVID. A lot of those guys were more defensive players like Hightower, and those guys are going to be coming back. The defense should be getting back more to the 2019 form. If you don't remember, back in 2019, the Patriots played like lights out defense. Don't get me wrong, it was mainly just they had an easy schedule. I think they went like 8-0 with this great defense, and they had some games that they won by like 10-3, something like that, just because of bad weather. So I don't want to say they were just the best defense ever. They weren't. They were just, above average, and they played really weak teams. But that defense and those players are coming back, and if they can come back and have their introduction, or return to the NFL against a team who's starting a bunch of backup receivers, and a guy who's really just getting out of his rookie year in Tua, they should have a good showing. Also, Bill Belichick has a full tape to look at regarding Tua. Tua is one of the few rookies who has ever beaten Bill Belichick in the NFL, and the Patriots lost back in December of last year. They lost 12-22, and Tua really didn't throw the ball very well. I think he only had like 145 yards, but he ran in 2 touchdowns. So looking at that tape, knowing more about Tua, and also knowing that the Patriots really weren't playing with like a full set last year. Cam Newton was not looking great, and they didn't have any receivers. They didn't really have any tight ends. Their defense was all, opted out. I think Bill really took that as more of like a learning experience, and I think he's going to know exactly how to play against Tua this year. So for those reasons, I would be taking Patriots minus 2.5 against the Dolphins week 1. It's up to you if you want to follow me with that one or not, because the injuries can kind of fluctuate between now and then. Who knows? Maybe all these guys will be back. We know for sure Will Fuller will be out. Devontae Parker is kind of the one I'd be looking at and more concerned with. But either way, I like the Patriots minus 2.5. And even if you just want to do like a half unit on that one, it's a pretty good line to be looking at. Week 2, so we haven't talked too much about week 2, but this one stuck out to me. Patriots again, and they are minus 3 at the Jets. Now, how many times have you seen the Patriots be just a field goal favorite against the Jets? I get that Adam Gase is gone, but really, a field goal, that's all you're going to give them against the Jets? I know I've said this a lot, but basically the entire Jets offense, including their coach, is like doing this for the first time ever at this level. And the Patriots have the GOAT as the coach, and they're thinking that they're going to keep this competitive. Anyways, all right, so let's take a look at some of the stats that I think kind of stand out to me in this one. So, first of all, the Jets are most likely going to be playing their rookie quarterback. Zach Wilson. And if you didn't already hear this or know this, they did something, I don't know what the hell they did, they're the Jets, where they couldn't get him signed in time. So they got him signed really just like not even a week ago, and he just had his first day of practice like 4 days ago or something like that. Like it's pretty late in the game, guys. Like there's the first, quote unquote preseason game is this week already, and then he's got one more week before the actual preseason starts. It's the Hall of Fame game this week. But yeah, he's not going to have a lot of time to acclimate, and so I'm not putting a lot of trust in that guy. But more importantly, Bill Belichick against rookie quarterbacks. So he is 21-6 since 2000. 21-6. That's an amazing record. But secondly, he's 13-0 at home. This game will be played at the Jets' home field, so not really a big stat there, but still 21-6, pretty impressive. Rookie quarterbacks are 2-6 against the spread when they played the Patriots. Now that is from 2000 to 2017, so it's not short, but it's a very specific time frame, and I'll kind of get into why I picked that time frame. After 2017, the line started inflating to these ridiculous numbers, to like 13.5 to 14 to 14.5. And 2017 was Deshaun Watson's rookie year, and then Josh Allen had his rookie year in 2018. For both of those games, the Patriots opened up as 13.5-point favorites. Not to say that that's like unheard of, especially for the Patriots, but that's not an easy line to cover. I mean, even like the Chiefs now are getting, those lines, and that's with a high-powered offense. And that's only against like worse teams. It's not like every week. It's usually more like a 10-point spread. So for them to be 13.5-point favorites or 14, and a lot of times by actual kickoff, they were 14.5-point favorites. So that's pretty huge. Deshaun Watson covered that, and I think he only lost by like 2 points. Josh Allen did not. He did cover it, and they lost by 12 points. So he barely covered it, but he covered it. But those were like inflated lines, and that's because everybody and their mom knew Bill Belichick's record against rookie quarterbacks. After that, though, when they started inflating the line, so he goes 0-2 against those two, against the spread, that is. They won both of those games. After that, though, they played Sam Darnold in his rookie year, Daniel Jones his rookie year, Justin Herbert, and Tua in both their rookie years. Now, Tua played against this depleted Patriots team that we were just talking about, with all these guys opted out, a lot of injuries. Cam Newton was playing terrible. I don't know if that's because of injury or what. You can speculate all you want. The fact is, the guy was playing terrible. Patriots went 3-3 against the spread since 2017, with their wins coming against Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, they actually just demolished. It was like 45-0. But like I said, those lines were really inflated. All of those lines were pretty inflated. And so the fact that they went 3-3 still says a lot. This year, I guess they forgot. They forgot about Dre song. That's about Bill Belichick now. Like, they forgot how good this dude is. The Jets are coming in with their rookie head coach, quarterback, running back, all the stuff we went over. Patriots are going to smash these guys in week 2. I don't care where it's at. They can play this shit on the moon. The Patriots are going to just wreck these dudes. Patriots -3. I'm jumping on that right now. And that's a week 2 play, so it's not going to be counted towards your week 1 stuff. And I get it if you don't want to put any money on that right now. Maybe you're trying to just focus on week 1, or maybe even focus on the preseason. But if you have any extra cash left over, put that money now, because I can almost guarantee you that once week 1 comes, especially if we get past week 1, that number is no longer -3. That's going to be like a Patriots -3.5 really quickly, and I can see that thing getting all the way up to like Patriots -5. Because between 3 and 5.5, there's no key numbers there. So as soon as it gets off of 3, it's just like a free fall until it gets to 6. So you might want to grab that number sooner than later. That's really not that long away either. That's like 7 weeks from now, something like that. It's not too long, but it's long enough to where you got to think about it. So I'll leave that one to you. So again, guys, sorry for this long video. I hope a lot of it was informative. I hope that you took something out of this, maybe some notes, some tips. Again, I will be making another video this week, probably on Wednesday, regarding like different books you can bet at and how to bet and what different words mean and what different bets are and how to win and all that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you again for the support. Appreciate it. I will keep these shorter in the future. Have a great day.